Time to check the comments. Here we go. Okay, we're alive. It's week 11, I think. And we're all very curious to see how it's gone. But first, I have a question for you. How much does it cost Santa to park his vehicle?
How much?
Mm-hmm.
How much? Tell me.
Nothing. It's on the house.
Very good.
Mm.
I haven't prepared a joke. I have to quickly think of one.
I'm sure you have plenty up there.
I thought it's true. I'm a repository for jokes. Well, my ex-girlfriend was Israeli, and she found the one joke I know about Jews to be quite funny. Now, this one comes with a disclaimer. I know this involves a stereotype, but I heard the Jewish comedian David Cross tell this joke, and I just fell in love with it. I just love the structure of it. So please, no one think that I am an ignorant anti-Semite. I just love this joke. So Jewish kid goes up to his dad and says, "Daddy, can I have $50?" And his dad says, "$40? What do you want $30 for?"
Excellent. That could have been my dad.
Did
probably.
did I just get us cancelled?
Let's hope not.
Are you Jewish?
No.
No.
But my dad was this type of dad that he would go to the supermarket, and if there was a discount on flour, he would just buy the whole shop, and then we would get bugs in them.
Yeah.
And my mum was like, "What the fuck are you doing?"
Have you ever seen the film Punch Drunk Love with Adam Sandler?
No.
It's a masterpiece. It's a cute, small, surreal comedy by Paul Thomas Anderson, who directed There Will Be Blood, Magnolia, what's that film with Joaquin Phoenix and Philip Seymour Hoffman, The Master, which is loosely based on L. Ron Hubbard. Anyway, Adam Sandler plays this incredibly traumatized, socially awkward brother to something like 9 Jewish sisters, and they are just like these bullying, neurotic nightmares who just kind of push him around and bully him into submission. So he's a husk of a man, a burnt out husk of a man with no confidence. And there's lots going on in the story, but he runs a little business in LA, a kind of a warehouse where he buys and sells things. And he goes to the supermarket and notices that there's a deal. This like dessert company is giving 1 free voucher for frequent flyer miles with every packet of pudding you buy. But the company has fucked up and they've made a mistake, and they've put 1 coupon for frequent flyer miles on every individual pudding cup, not just the whole pack of 4 or 6 or whatever. So he buys all of this pudding so he can basically fly around the world for free for the rest of his life. And he's just got like a warehouse full of pudding. And at one point, the sort of, his love interest is sort of just says in this really adorable English accent, like, there's all of this chaos going on, and things are, falling and dropping, and it's absolute mayhem. And then she just says, "What's all of this pudding?" And it's just, yeah. I highly recommend it.
Roger.
Hmm?
Roger. Shall we get to it then?
Okay, I'm going to shut up now.
Yes.
Silence.
Have you counted your cravings, the successful ones?
Yes, every day.
Yay. And how many have you had? I just want
to. It's been minimum 2, maximum 3 a day, and that's with milk. No rice. I've dropped the rice idea. I don't need milk and rice. Milk will give me lactose sugar, so I'm just going to reduce the milk. But it's been 2 to 3 a day. Which days I can't remember, but it's 2 to 3.
Okay, so we
And I
have
weighed
somewhere like
myself.
15 to 20. You weighed yourself?
Yeah, but I weighed
Holy shit.
yeah. So I weighed myself, and
Uh-huh.
in the last week, I've lost 3 pounds. So I went from 299 to 296. So I'm back on weighing myself again. No sugar, no plants, no transgressions. But I've had caffeine, milk, and meat and dairy. I've had like cheese, milk, meat, and
Sounds good to
coffee.
me.
I feel a lot better. My sleep is improving. Um, uh, Mood is definitely stabilizing as well. Um, the coffee can sometimes undo that. Um, I'm starting to notice that if I eat something and then I have my coffee, I feel less anxious. If I have coffee on an empty stomach, that makes me quite anxious for 2 to 3 hours.
Okay.
So yeah, I've gotten into the habit now of like drinking some yogurt, like half a liter of yogurt, and then if I have my coffee a couple of hours after that, the caffeine doesn't seem to affect me as much.
Okay. So we have a good solution then.
Yeah.
Excellent. And what about the judgments?
Um, the judgments are improving. Um, and I've been just working on like trying to be aware of blaming and sort of like any excuse making for uh, interactions that don't go well, or interactions with which I'm not pleased.
Can you translate that to interactions that you have with yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Um, that is the end goal. The end goal is to just, yeah, to end, to stop the chastising, to stop the self-flagellation, to just look upon my mistakes, or look upon the behaviors which I want to change with neutrality, and or perhaps even kindness before before trying to change them.
Yeah. What have you been eating this week, Alex? What's happened? Are you the real Alex? Is this an imposter? What's going on here?
I'm just a very different person on grass-fed, grass-finished beef.
Must be.
Like
Cow.
nothing, nothing makes me feel better than beef. Beef is like, I mean, I can have pork, and chicken and lamb, but like after eating one or two ribeye steaks, that's a uniquely good feeling. Yeah, I think ruminant flesh is just. I've always felt good eating beef. I've always felt good after eating beef. Um, so I think I should make my diet, well, my carnivore diet, focus around beef predominantly. Like at least half or more should be beef, and then I'll have
Yeah.
some other things for variety.
Yes. You do that if you want to. I mean, you can only use whatever information you get from how you feel when you're eating things and then try it out. But what I want to add here is like, in terms of the work that we're doing, it doesn't really matter because you want to be at a place where you could handle your cravings even if you had been on a high carbohydrate diet. That's how foolproof I would like you to be. So
Yeah,
we're going to step it up a little bit with the cravings. I think 2 to 3 cravings per day is great. Can I give you homework here?
Always.
Always. Are you going to do it? That was the question.
Yeah.
I want you
Yeah.
to have a minimum of 2 cravings per day on average. So, well, let's say I want you to sit with at least 15 cravings next week.
Yeah.
So if you are not actually having cravings, you're going to have to manufacture some cravings. So if you just like have one or none and you're falling behind, I want you to go and make sure that you're having cravings.
May I
You may.
bring something? Thank you. Thank you. May I bring something to your attention? The cravings which I'm counting are for sugar, like actual sugar. You know, like when I was at Wells Market, again, I'm looking at Layers chocolate brownies, and I stood there looking at them, and then I sort of walked away
Okay.
with a grimace, quite pained. There was another such incident in the local newsagent. I was looking at the Coca-Cola, and then I just walked home. So I definitely put myself in situations where I was initially following the impulse, or following the compulsion to consume sugar, but then I interceded on my own behalf and then left. What I know for a fact will happen is those sugar cravings, they will abate, but then there'll be periods where I use the milk. I remember last year between August and December, I lost like 3 stone, and there were some pretty close moments. But in those moments, I just like, I think I drank milk in an addictive fashion to replace chocolate or ice cream or whatever. So I think moving forward, the key is going to be to not drink the milk addictively, to drink the milk with intention,
Yeah.
but to not drink the milk as a response to that nervous energy. So the
So
cravings
I
are
want,
definitely going to come,
yeah,
but
but I want to make sure now, because your homework was to count cravings that you have successfully allowed. So do you feel like you're allowed 2 to 3 cravings per day and not just like ignore them? Because ignoring and walking away is a completely different thing.
allowing cravings is about setting aside the time in the moment to be with them. It's like a conversation almost.
Yes.
Sometimes I'm in a position to do that.
Yeah. So I was talking to another client yesterday, and I always describe it as when I try to sit with the cravings sometimes, or when I'm trying to see what they really are, it's almost like like it's just like a craving and it's on a banner and it's just like kind of passing through, and then I'm like, oh my god, it's gone. And that still counts as a successful allowing, being a successful attempt at allowing it, because after that I just feel like there is no resentment or I'm missing out, or I having to suppress something, or I have to go and drink milk or something like that. If you have to find a
Yeah.
substitute, you haven't really allowed it. So I just want to make sure that you have allowed the cravings, because it's the number of allowed cravings that is going to train the right pathway in your brain. So you don't want to train the running away pathway. That one might be give you a better outcome temporarily, but that's never going to work long term. So where do you think you're in that mix?
Well, I know that I chose consciously to drink 2 liters of milk a day because so far I haven't been able to manage any other form of carbohydrate. So the opioid response from the casein protein and the lactose it's just giving my brain just enough of what it needs to take the edge off of the sugar cravings, for white sugar and flour. So yeah, I mean the plan is to reduce the 2 liters to 100 mils within a 6-week period. I'll start that when I'm ready.
But this week, what happened with? Did you allow them, or was it more of a running away from them? Yeah, you did allow them, and you felt okay after.
I allowed them.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was. But I'm just saying it. I'm just saying that what I was allowing was a lot easier and a lot less severe because I had the milk, and the milk is a great comfort to me. I find milk very comforting. It's been a wonderful substitute for sugar because when I drink milk is the only carbohydrate, and honey, to be fair as well. I know you have your opinions about honey, but I've never ever, even when I'm binging on sugar, I never eat more than a teaspoon of honey a day, ever. I just got into this habit of having cheese, and I just like to put about 4 or 5 grams of honey on the cheese. It's I can't actually eat honey in an addictive way. I don't have the impulse. I don't have the desire to do it. So honey and milk are the only carbs where the consumption of them doesn't trigger that unhealthy, self-destructive excuse of, I've had some sugar now, so the day is ruined, so I may as well self-sabotage.
Yeah.
And I think the reason for that is because, in spite of the fact that it's not great to combine lactose with butterfat, Randle cycle, blood glucose spike, etc. I think it would be fair to say that the blood glucose spike from milk is probably right at the bottom of the list of glycemic substances. It doesn't feel like I'm consuming sugar. I don't get a sugar high from drinking milk. Really, what I like is the taste of the fat and the protein. I honestly, I wish that someone would invent a chemical that you could put into milk to consume the lactose, but without replacing it with lactic acid. I know you can do it with kefir, but
yeah.
I don't want to drink 2 liters of really acidic kefir every day. I don't think that would be good for my gut anyway. That much lactobacillus, that's excessive. But yeah, honestly, if someone could remove the carbs from milk and I could just drink the fat and the protein, I would really enjoy that. So yeah, milk, would contain some decent quantities of certain vitamins, not others. It's deficient in others. I know it's got a lot of potassium in it. I know it's good hydration, so I can drink milk. And in my mind, even though in the bigger picture, drinking milk is not where I want to be, I'm able to say that there are more positives than negatives to drinking raw milk, from healthy cows. Sure. So it's been really helpful. And it's, again, it is the only solution I've found that I can stick to for coming off of sugar. Like, it's an unflattering comparison, but it's like methadone.
Well,
just
keep it.
Methadone.
Just
yeah.
Yep. So no problem with me. You don't have to explain to me why you want to have the milk there. For me, you can keep the milk forever if you want to, as long as it doesn't become a problem for you. What I care about is just, like, as you say, if it was very addictive, then you will probably want to deal with that. But right now, it's fine.
honestly, I'm not gonna lie. I I need to be honest with you and keep coming back to the main problem. And I'm starting to get it. I'm starting to understand more and more consistently and in a sustained way that the problem, like the main problem in all of this, is detaching diets from this work that we're doing. Like,
Yes.
I need to separate them, because by separating them, then I remember the most important thing, which is that even if I have some sugar on a Wednesday or a Thursday, that doesn't mean that on that day or the following days that there aren't going to be opportunities to make one step in the right direction and sit with a craving.
Yeah.
Every individual craving with which I sit is one baby step in the right direction, and it's not undone by the fact that maybe 3 or 4 hours prior I consumed a chocolate biscuit. You can consume a biscuit, and then 4 hours later you'll have another craving. It's inevitable. That's what sugar does. And then that's your opportunity to do something good. And if I could just remember that every day, even on a day that I would define as a bad day, that there can still be one opportunity to sit with one craving. And I forget day in, day out, I forget that then they're mutually exclusive. They don't have to be tied.
No.
That's where that's um, this is that with which I need help. I need you
But
to
everyone does
help
this.
me.
It's not just you, because we forget and we focus so much on the goal that we want, which is, oh my God, I don't want to eat sugar. And then everything is a fail if any of that sugar gets into you, rather than focusing on what you actually really need to do is to learn the skill.
It's incredible. It's like it's the permitting of the addictive mindset to
Yes.
become a part of the rational process for recovery. It's a Trojan horse in recovery, to allow absolute thoughts to look at a day as being ruined at the beginning. Um, even it's just one moment in the morning. Maybe I tell myself I'm going to have a steak, but for lunch I have some rice or something, because in a moment of weakness. But that doesn't mean that I have to then use that as an excuse to plan eating KFC and Coca-Cola in the evening. But I do. It's
Yeah.
insanity. It's the insanity of addiction.
But that's a good point that you brought that up, because I'm a little bit curious about how you're waking up now on your days off. Are you still like waking up and not knowing what you're gonna do and feel like I'm gonna go on the
No,
binge today? No.
no,
What
absolutely
happens?
not. Oh, well,
What are
I've
you
made
doing?
well the last week I've it's all about the flat. So I write a list of like 2 or 3 things that I'm going to do in the flat, or to the flat, or on the behalf of the flat, on behalf of the flat. And I've been doing them. I told myself I was going to get new bedding, a new headboard for my bed, and I did. I told myself I was going to take all of the shoes off of my stairs, which have been presenting the constant risk of quadriplegia to all guests who come here. And I've done that. I bought a fucking great shoe rack, handmade out of pine by some guy who got reclaimed scaffolding wood and cut it, sanded it, varnished it, and glued it. And I really like it. And yeah, and a whole host of other things. So yeah, like I met someone recently, and this person had a very, very intense conversation with me for a long time on a beach. And this person said, just in a very compelling and penetrating way, that these changes have to come from within. not by any means an original idea or incitement or reminder, just very effective and very compelling the way that they conveyed it. They got through to me, which is, it's often how the message is conveyed. So I had this really profound moment with this person in the last week, and it seems to have had this,
What did they
I dare
say?
say, well, I was talking about the changes that I wanted to make, and I suppose they use their intuitive intelligence to deduce that of which I'm most afraid, which is just doing positive things for me. I think they knew, or they could sense that I have developed thought patterns which have imprisoned me, or have lumbered me with the need to prove something to other people, and to use proving something to other people as the fuel to push myself to make changes, but that fuel, it burns out, it depletes quickly, and that a far more sustainable fuel is the love for oneself, of which I have none, if any at all, at the moment, currently. So I've known this for a long time. I'm terrified of this fact. I'm incredibly uncomfortable and terrified of staying in the pocket with the sort of dilapidated kingdom that I've allowed to happen all around me, all of the chaos of my apartment, and it's simply within that fear, within that tension, there is the truth from which I hide, that I don't love myself. I do nothing good for myself. And this person spoke to me in a way that made me suspend my cynicism for a day or two and actually indulge in the idea of just liking me enough to do something nice for me the way I would do for someone else. And I shall forever be grateful to this person, just by virtue of being them. So yeah.
Excellent. I'm glad.
And of course, and I shall forever be grateful to you, Pim.
That's all right.
Well, I don't want you to feel like
I've tried to
been
tell you
usurped.
15 times, but if they can express it better and it goes through, fine. I'm happy with that.
Well, they were tickling my balls at the same time. Maybe that was the missing component.
You're quite far away, so yeah.
I was going to say. Well, maybe let's say you're the one who loosened the lid on the jar,
excuses.
and then
it's all right.
I'm just happy
that the coin has dropped somehow. It might fly out again and then come back again. I don't know, but at least you had the experience of actually doing that for a little bit, and then you can get back to it again.
It's the same. It's the same intellectual existential dilemma that seems to permeate through multiple contexts. It's the instant gratification dilemma. It's the I'm not going to do anything for myself because I don't love myself. I don't feel it. I feel nothing inside in terms of affection and goodwill to myself from myself. There's nothing there. But I also am presented with the rational knowledge that there's nothing there because I haven't done anything. And that the more I do, the more it will build. And then it becomes self-sustaining. But initially, you make fire with no fire. You just rub the stick until a small flame is made. But I'm saying no. I have to have a can of petrol, or nothing. It must be instant roaring love and goodwill and affection and no, it's not. It's not. It's the story of my life, like being trapped in that illogical expectation, and I can't really entertain any. Yeah.
I was just gonna. How does it feel to sit in your somewhat pimped flat now?
It's getting there. It's nice to see the shoe rack. It's nice to see I'm respecting my trainers now rather than just letting them sit on the stairs. And I mean, Jesus Christ, I've nearly fallen down my stairs about 10 times in the last 8 years to, to a near catastrophic end. Like some fucking close calls with my spine, that's for sure. All because I'm too retarded to just do what my not last ex-girlfriend, but the one before told me to do. It's like, just spend £40 on a fucking shoe rack. My God, I think when the flat is finally where I want it to be, I'm going to see the appearance of something that could have and should have been done over the last 8 years or 8 years ago. And I'm going to think, why on earth was I prevaricating? Why did I delay for 8 years? But we addicts are...
It's done now.
I think we're insane, aren't we? We're insane.
Yeah, I'll subscribe to that.
We're insane. Yeah.
Well, actually, we're not. It's just that's how the brain's wired. And how we live doesn't mix with that very well. So if you were busy all day having to make sure that you had enough firewood to heat your house and you could get food and you needed to go and fetch water from the river, you wouldn't have time to think about all of this bullshit that your brain is thinking about. So your brain is looking for other things to worry about and to sort out. It needs to do that kind of work. So that's why we need to direct it and actively direct it, or it's just going to go there on its own.
Alexander the Great, one of his famous historical quotes was about comparing discomfort and sort of hardship and challenge to heaven and luxury to hell. And for me, luxury, convenience, and privilege are an absolute disaster for my will. I've noticed, and I've been thinking about this recently, that when I shine, like when I'm at my best, and also strangely, when I'm at my calmest, is when there is an emergency. Like when there is a huge fuck up, especially for someone else. It's not my emergency, but it's someone else's, and I've been called upon to provide assistance. I can think on my feet. I'm confident. I lack hesitation. Like I went to Glasgow with a French friend in 2006 to watch the Deftones, and when we got off the bus, he suddenly realised, as the bus, 2 or 3 minutes after the bus had driven away, that he'd left his wallet with like over £200 cash in there and the tickets to the show. And instantly, without hesitating, I looked at the bus stop and I looked at the route the bus was going to be taking and tried to anticipate. And I looked at the time it took to get to the route. And then I said to him, well, it's going to be at that stop in 15 minutes. So let's get into a taxi and ask to go to that bus stop and then wait for the bus to arrive. And that's exactly what we did. And he just said to me after he got his wallet back off of the seat, like, I was panicking. I would have been fucked. I was just going to go to the bus station and say, you know, make a, and, you know, register a loss with lost and found. But I've always been like that. Whenever the stakes are high, like when there's an immediate threat, I'm efficacious, serious, responsible, and I can think fast. But when I'm
So you have all of those
comfortable,
fucking qualities.
yeah. But when I'm comfortable, when
Yeah.
things are fun, when there's nothing immediately pressing,
Yeah.
I'm an absolute fucking sloth.
But that's exactly how your
I'm
brain
a
is supposed
sloth.
to work. Your brain is perfect. It works really well under pressure when it's needed. And when it doesn't need to, it's like, hell yeah, I'm gonna do fuck all. We're gonna preserve the energy and we're gonna order some pizza and fill up those stores so we can chase the buses in the future. Like, there's absolutely nothing wrong with how your brain is working. It's just that you don't get to use the emergency brain very often. So you're gonna judge yourself for all of the sloth-like behaviors that you have.
Emergency brain.
Yeah.
Maybe I sometimes wonder whether or not I should put myself in an environment with fewer creature comforts and more need to improvise.
Yeah. I mean, there's a reason for, you know, all these wilderness camps and that sort of stuff,
Yeah.
and why people feel so bloody good doing it. It's
Mm.
not just that the mobile phones are not there or the TV isn't there. It's a combination of things. And it's just like that's what your brain is made for. And when you can connect to that, I mean, there are people like ex-militaries that have such camps for, you know, ex-militaries that have PTSD and all those sorts of things, and just healing people, putting them in nature and having them like survive, to just get the brain back on track. I find
That
it
sounds,
fascinating.
yeah, fascinating and very appealing.
Yeah,
That could be something I end up doing. And
yeah.
I'd also like to. I was talking to a gentleman the other day outside of a vape shop. The owner, in fact, of this vape shop, who, after explaining to me why I should pay £220 for this German vaporizer, proceeded to tell me that he had solved some PTSD issues by microdosing mushrooms,
Hmm.
which is a concept of which I had never heard.
I've heard of it,
Um,
both mushrooms and LSD, microdosing.
yeah, because frankly, and I would be very happy to talk about this more because it definitely needs to be discussed in deeper, more intimate detail. I think everything, almost everything, keeps on coming back to this feeling of not being enough and needing to prove something to others and show others. Like,
And the funny thing is with the bus thing, the story that you just told us is
yeah,
like you didn't do that because you had to prove something. That was just
right.
pure instinct.
That's why I'm not making the YouTube channel. I'm not making the YouTube channel because I don't like the thoughts that I have about using the channel for some sort of egotistical campaign to show the world that, you know, that I'm not a fucking loser. When really, in other words, I don't like the quality of my thoughts. I want better quality thoughts, healthier thoughts, which pertain to a positive impact that my channel would have on the community and myself. And I resent the fact that my ego is and my insecurity is interfering so frequently. And then I say, well, I'm not making the channel then. If you, talking to my ego, if you are going to hijack the channel and turn it into a vanity project, then I'm not doing it. I really need to speak to a professional about this. I think I need to talk to a therapist about this, because it all started when I was a child, and at school I was intensely bullied. I don't want to start crying about it or feeling sorry for myself. It happened, and that's where it all began. And you know, some kids, when they're bullied, have got the resolve to just go like, oh, fuck those kids, and just ignore them. Some go down the more sinister path of kind of harboring resentment and then getting their own back. You know, some bring an AK-47 into the school, but you know, to the rare cases. But a lot of people don't talk about a kind of equally ugly and highly consequential avenue to take, which is to actually believe what they imply or say directly to you, that you're not good enough to be part of the crowd, that there's something wrong with you, that's why you're not a member of the chosen few. And then to develop like a neuroticism around that, where you're always believing that you are separate and that you're an imposter, even when eventually all signs indicate that you've been accepted into the group or the higher echelons of the group. And that has stuck with me ever since I was a child. And I didn't realize, I just assumed that as I got older, that it would abate or disappear, but it doesn't. It's still with me to this day.
So what would you have to do to be part of the group?
Well, I don't think that I concern myself anymore with being a part of the group. That was the model that established itself in school. I think the last time I felt like I was part of a group and that mattered was when I was sort of in my late adolescence. Now it's mutated into something more conceited and toxic, whereby I have hostility to the group, and my objective is to surpass them, and then as almost as a kind of expression of retribution, do better than the group, so I can say, fuck you, you made me feel like I wasn't good enough, but all along I was better than you. That's the kind of the gist of it. And that kind of thinking is now so hardwired into me. I'm like meeting groups of people or interacting with people, and I'm projecting onto them that they look down on me, and that I now need to compete with them or sort of surpass them in some way, so that I can win or not lose, and it's all very toxic, very messy, very neurotic. But I'm starting to see now that it's in everything. It's permeated into everything, and I wish to divorce myself from this permanently.
So that's where the judgment comes in, because it's all in your head. unless they tell you straight out that this is what I'm thinking about you. You have no
Yeah.
idea.
Yeah. And the really fucked up thing about it is that sometimes it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy where I will act
Yeah, of
up,
course.
I will behave antagonistically in order
Yes.
to create a response of hostility or disapproval, which then feeds into the, see, I told you they never liked you, or see, I told you they had a problem with you. It's just so fucked up. It's like my mind is this labyrinth of insecurity and conceit. And
And I'm
I'm
so
tired of
glad
it.
that you realize it.
Yeah, I'm tired. I'm so tired of being insecure. It's fucking exhausting. And it definitely has something to do with the addiction, or they seem to serve one another. But I know that my sugar addiction and my and this social neurotic social program, which plays out in my mind, I know that they are relatives of sorts. They are they seem to be both working for the devil. They in tandem. They collaborate and support one another, and
Or
they seem,
that's just
yeah,
how your brain operates. That's just how brains in general operate.
yeah. But again, as I've said on a few occasions, I don't identify problems by their uniqueness, but by the degree with which one suffers them. I am suffering with this neuroticism to a crippling degree. So perhaps I shan't ever be able to totally divest myself of it, but I
Or
want
you have a
to
very,
manage
very
it to
strong neural
bring it.
pathway because you have been thinking it so many times. What about that?
Yeah, indeed. But yeah,
And that's completely
absolutely,
neutral. It's not
absolutely,
the
yeah.
devil. It just is. And you can be like, well, I don't like doing that, so I'm going to change it. And I can see that you're starting to change it. I mean, just being aware is going to have you change something. Because going from not aware to aware is going to change things straight away. Without me telling you anything or without you actually making that decision necessarily. Just you being aware and thinking like, I'm so sick of doing this is going to change things.
Yes, I'm utterly exhausted by my own absolute judgments of things and people. It's draining. They are like heavy burdens, metaphysical burdens, which one has to carry and support, and they siphon crucial, vital energy away from other parts of the body, the mind, the soul, the will. It's a constant fucking burden, and I wish to rid myself of it indefinitely.
So what if we're not thinking that it's a constant fucking burden? And you're like,
If I'm not
this is
thinking that, then it's because it isn't.
no, it's just okay, this is how it is. And it's on my mind all the time and it's there. So I need to just be aware of that. And then I need to redirect without that judgment about it.
It's difficult to perceive that advice as anything else other than a logical fallacy. I'm
Why?
I'm trying. Well, it's just not how my mind works. For
Yet.
me, well, I haven't been convinced of what you're saying. It just doesn't make logical sense to me. Like it almost implies that the behavior occurs because I think it's real, not that I have the thought, the observation that it's occurring after it actually does occur.
No, it
It's like
definitely
you're saying,
occurs. But it's not a
but
fucking
why?
burden. It's just a
But it is a
behavior.
burden. I can feel it in my body. It's a
You can.
burdensome behavior. Why does I don't okay, how about I'm asking the wrong question. This is the right question.
Right. Go.
How does regarding it as a burden um in my view, identifying it and regarding it as a burden is the first step in dealing with it. But it seems that to you, regarding it as a burden is
Okay.
actually
Let me
exacerbating and
compare it
sustaining
with the
it.
cravings.
How?
So the cravings, you want to sit with the cravings. You want to allow them to be there. You're like, hello, cravings. I know I'm going to have you. All good. And I'm not going to listen to you. So it's kind of very neutral. Like, you're there and I don't care. Rather than you're there and I need to get rid of you. So I need to push you away and use my willpower and do something different. And it's the same thing with this. It's a fucking burden. You're going to push it away, hide it, get rid of it. Whereas you
Those are
could just
your
let.
words.
No,
Those are
you
your
said it was
words, not
fucking
mine.
burden.
My
You said it was
words,
fucking burden.
my yeah, but you're qualifying those words with your own words. My words ended at burden, full stop. I didn't then say, and I want to push it away. Those are your words.
No, but that's what you are doing when you have those thoughts, which is like if something is a burden, everyone wants to get rid of
I'm
it.
not pushing them away. I'm
So you want to
embracing
have a
them.
burden. Okay, if you can embrace a burden, a
Well,
fucking
that's what
burden,
I've
then
been
do it.
doing. That's what
Okay.
I've been doing. I've only just really recently developed awareness around the thoughts and the behaviors. That's what I'm saying. I'm still doing it.
And are you
I'm still
okay
doing it.
with doing it? Like, how
No,
does it
no.
feel when you're doing it?
Uh, it gives me anxiety, and you know me. I don't like to speak in wishy-washy language, but it poisons my soul. Like I can feel. It's such an unhappy place because you're never giving yourself or anyone else the benefit of the doubt. And it's just constant cynicism and pessimism, and you can never accept what people say at face value. There's this tremendous cynicism to me.
Okay. So I don't know how to. So if I say that something poisons my soul, that is highlighting something in a very, very negative way, which is something that is very undesirable. What I would suggest is that you just notice what is happening without that judgment. And like, okay, this habit or whatever it is that you're doing is just something that comes back. It's just like a brain error. It's nothing that is inherently bad. It's just something has gone wrong and you need to correct it. Or you want to correct it rather. Like it's just the energy around the words that you're using feels very negative, and to me that it feels like that will continue fueling that negativity and fuel any resistance to push it away, rather than if you just like, okay, look at it from the outside, this is what is happening, it's just a mechanism in my brain, it's a thought error and it's been there for a very long time, now I'm going to change it. It's like you coming in as an engineer and like, who the hell built this? I'm going to build it better. Let's just change it.
There have been some very, very interesting sociological experiments and studies about the relationship between how consequences are defined and how they are actually experienced independent of definition verbally. One such example I'd like to discuss with you, but it's far too controversial and inflammatory to do during a live stream, so I'll wait until the end of the session. But there was such an analysis done on a highly controversial phenomenon. But yeah, it heavily indicates that a person can undergo some form of suffering, some experience, but that their PTSD is actually maintained and sustained by the messages they receive from society, which constantly remind them, even though they don't ask to be reminded, that something awful happened to you. Whereas if that person suffered in a well, where's the word gone? In a vacuum, say
Yeah.
on an island with a small community of people who don't actually believe, or who haven't defined the consequences of an act of suffering in the same way, then the PTSD is far lesser. So these studies have shown that like people can have their trauma and their inability to cope and reconcile with a past traumatic event, they can have that sustained and exacerbated by the way that society or institutions or members of society try to help them navigate the consequences. But by not helping them to navigate the consequence, they actually, it's the people who are trying to help them deal with what happened to them who are simultaneously dictating to the individual how they should feel exactly about what happened to them. You understand what I'm saying? Like, so in a sense, there's no neutrality with that. There is no, oh, well, that happened. You know, let's just observe what the actual consequences are and deal with them. But no, society says, no, this happened to you. It's awful. Like, and then the person goes, oh, okay, then I guess I should feel awful because something awful happened to me. And then almost like psychosomatically, trauma can be created in a secondary sense
Yeah, I'm
through
sure.
through the defining and categorizing of the problem.
Absolutely. I
It's
don't
absolutely
doubt that at
fascinating,
all.
but far too controversial to mention. But I want to, yeah, but very compelling,
Well,
very
I'm not sure. I
interesting.
mean, I'm a coach, so I'm working with people that want to move forward, obviously, and I think that someone who's suffering from PTSD most likely would benefit from some sort of therapy with someone who's dealing with that. But as you say, I mean, it is a matter of what you are thinking about it. If you didn't see things that have happened to you as something bad, you wouldn't have PTSD. No, I'm
Yeah.
not saying that, that you should change the way that you're thinking about such things, because maybe you want to think that they actually were bad things because you don't want to think that they are good things. And that's more of
Mm-hmm.
a moral issue maybe, or just like the person that you want to be.
Well, yeah, I mean, basically, I can look back at multiple things that happened to me, and if I choose to, I can see them more as sort of lessons or opportunities, or I can sort of absorb them into an overall worldview where I say, no one escapes pain, no one escapes suffering, no one escapes bullying. Very few people escape being attacked. Because let's face it, some people are attacked and then spend the rest of their lives being frightened of being attacked, and then it affects the quality of their life. Other people
Yeah.
get the shit kicked out of them and then go on to become the featherweight UFC champion, like Conor McGregor.
Yep.
He said, I got into MMA because some chavs got out of a car and kicked the shit out of me because I was with some hard man's ex-girlfriend and he was jealous, something like that. And he said, I told myself after that kick-in, after that beating, that I never ever wanted anyone to be able to have that much power over me ever again. So would there be Conor McGregor without that assault that occurred to him? Probably not, assuming what he says is true. So I'm starting to see how I can look back at some of the really egregious things that certain people did to me, and I can actually choose to stop myself from feeling all manner of emotions: pain, recrimination, vindictiveness. I can put a stop to all of it, which does bring into question the whole notion of PTSD being only a direct representative of the inherent trauma. Like, no one could dispute the inherent trauma of a, Tony Montana Scarface situation of having your arm cut off with a chainsaw. But there are all of these other instances where, there are other gradations. And I do think that there's something to be said about how much PTSD or how much trauma a person experiences, or the degree to which a person is unable to overcome the past because of how it's being constantly defined to them in an inflammatory way. Almost as if they're receiving messages saying, like, be a victim, like, remain a victim. That's who you are now. Spend the rest of your life saying.
That's what we talked about last time, like all the TV series, etc. It's just all about being the victim and doing all those things. So it's just reinforcing that behavior. And the coolest thing of all with coaching is that, I mean, I'm by no means a Yoda here, but when you can control your mind and when you can choose what to think on purpose, it's like, where do you stop? You can go anywhere you fucking want. You just need to be committed to start believing new things. And that is so fucking cool to think about, if you ask me.
Mm-hmm.
If everyone realized what a freaking machine you have up there and what you could do with it, like, what could we do with the world instead of what we're actually doing with the world?
Indeed. We could be making another Beethoven symphony rather than
If you
a song
like.
by Young Kelly.
I would probably do something different personally, but
you would, if you discovered your potential, Pim, you wouldn't be talking to me, that's for sure.
I see you as a challenge. Speaking of which, I want to bring up a comment here that we had earlier today, like half an hour ago, whatever. So it said, a sentence I've never seen in this journey, and maybe I missed it in the chat, was, you have to learn to forgive yourself for failure, no matter how much you screwed up. Just jump back on the horse. I have some opinions about that. I do not like the term failure because it indicates that you have done something wrong. I would like to just go back to what I've been trying to say today, like, our brains operate in a certain way, and they do it for a very specific reason. And just because you wanted to do excuse me, just because you wanted to do something different doesn't mean that when you're not doing it doesn't mean that it's a failure. It's just another try to get to where you want to be. It's just another thing that you're trying out. So every time you're failing, if you like, when you are eating something, it's because you haven't learned how to handle that situation yet, or you chose in that moment to not do it for whatever reason you had. And in those situations, I want you to just go back to what actually happened there. Like, what was the situation? What were you thinking about the things that happened right then that made you make this decision? If it's very early on in the journey, you might not even have been aware of what you were doing. But now I'm talking about when you actually start looking at what is happening, what are my triggers, what am I thinking, and can I just sit with that craving and just be okay with it? And then you couldn't. So you just went off, you had ice cream or whatever. I don't see that as a failure. I see that as a learning experience, because once you've done that, you can go back and you can assess what happened, and you will just go over that in your brain and kind of, okay, this is what happened now, that is not going to happen again, and then you can move on. So it's just another thing that you had to go through on your journey to get to where you want to be. Why do I keep losing my voice today? So even though it says the same thing, it's just like the failure part sounds so derogative to me. It's like we want to beat ourselves up. I just want to say, like, every time you fall off or not following your plan is just like part of the journey, and then you go back onto it. So I just want to point that out. Did you have any comment on that? It looked like you want to say something.
Yeah, sure. Look, this is now the fourth or the fifth comment that we've brought up, which has got that very similar structure of sort of expectation and entitlement. Like, when will you cocksuckers realize I am not you? If you want to suggest something to me, then please go ahead. But the way you guys are wording it is like,
I think that was just a general comment.
No. I mean, like, but it's just the way they're phrasing it. It's like, I haven't heard this. I haven't seen Alex do this. I'm still waiting for Alex to do this. Like, I do not give a fuck what you are waiting for.
Perfect.
If you observe that there is some sort of gap of understanding of knowledge.
She loves when I have a rant as well.
Great. Look, if you observe that there's an opportunity, there's some sort of gap or link in my understanding or my awareness, and you see an opportunity to point my eyes or my thoughts in the direction to that new information, then please suggest a new perspective. But I've seen this now like 4 or 5 times, people sort of basically almost kind of passive aggressively expressing their disappointment. Like, what I'm not hearing in this conversation is go fuck yourself. That's what,
no, I think this person had just been watching through all of them, and I think they were kind of like, this, I haven't.
Well, so what? That just means that, well, that just means that they're annoying. Actually. That just means that they're annoying to a broader pool of people who suffer with addiction. That makes them 10 times worse. Now, look, I'm only joking. But yeah, what do you want me to do with that information? You know?
No, I don't think they want to.
Failure. But they want to write the comment though.
Well, you missed a lot of comments. I read them all, so I have a different context. I think it was more like, this is what I generally hear, but I haven't heard it mentioned here. So do we think something different? That's how I took it anyway.
Okay, well, I can't afford to take it that way now because I've already committed to be belligerent instant.
Yeah, you go on.
I don't want to have to. Yeah, I don't want to backtrack now.
No, and Shelley would be disappointed.
Pop, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's all right. No, we, as I said, you can be as judgmental as you like here, if you like, but you might be pointed out because we are currently working with Alex's judgments. So if you see you judging, he's probably going to pick it up. Let's just put it like that.
Well, some fucking spunk muffin keeps on writing something to the effect of, "Oh, mate, you've got a penis and you're talking to someone with a vagina about your problems. That's where you're going wrong, mate." Like this, I can't remember who, but someone keeps on leaving a comment saying, "Yeah, someone keeps on writing a comment that I shouldn't be talking to you because you've got tits." And I just keep thinking that's a great reason to talk to someone.
Well, they need a coach. They need to work on the judgments for sure.
It's one of my frequent reasons to talk to a person is their boobs. So I disagree wholeheartedly. But yeah, it's just like, you found your way to the carnivore movement, which means that you're open-minded enough to allow something that appears to be a radical idea, even though it shouldn't be. It has the appearance of being radical, that we should eat our species appropriate diet, against a backdrop of a massive assault from hundreds of forces in the world, all messaging that you should be eating grains. You've willed yourself, you've followed your curiosity and your instincts to find the carnivore diet, and yet somehow you still believe that men should talk to their problems with only men. It's, yeah, very bizarre.
Very bizarre. Yes. Okay, let's stop with the judgment both ways. Shell says funny things. Just apparently I'm more of a man than most men. Bigger balls than church bells. There you go. So she's a fan of us both. We love you, Shell. You're great. Yes, so I think we should wrap it up there. The only thing I want you to do this week is make sure that you allow 2 to 3 cravings, roughly 15 during the week, so that you get those repetitions in, and then start thinking about how easy it is to actually allow them. Like, does the feeling afterwards when you allow them, does that change? Because in the beginning, I think, for me anyway, I think I had a lot of kind of semi fails where I kind of started allowing and then I went into like forcing it away with willpower, and I wasn't really sure what was what. But if you can genuinely feel like it's almost like this relief comes over you, and then you know, like, this just worked. This is how it's supposed to feel. And when you get that more consistently, you know that you really know, learning how to do it. So I wanted to kind of pay attention to how it feels afterwards as well.
That
Roger?
which you command, that which you command, I shall obey.
Okay. Right. We're wrapping up there. So thank you everyone who are being here. Before Zoo. Yes, I got it. I'll convey the message to Alex and let him know, because we have to stop this broadcast now. But thank you very much, and I hope to see you all next week. Bye.
Ciao tutti.